This story will horrify you, and it will amaze you too, I promise. See for yourself. Residents of Yaroslavl, a city in the center of Russia, will not forget this amazing incident for the rest of their lives. It was a very ordinary day when suddenly passers-by heard strange sounds coming from a dilapidated house. Having listened closely, people realized with horror that it was the crying of a child. The scream was so loud and shrill that one might think that several children were locked in the old house at once. This went on for several hours. The night passed. The next morning, the tearing children's crying resounded again from the dilapidated building. People called the police to sort things out. When the men in uniform went inside, they shuddered. In a gloomy room on the floor was a baby sobbing. She was hungry and dirty. She was only 1 year old. The police walked around the house but found no one else there. It was evident that the owners had left the place, taking all of their belongings with them. They left only the most precious thing in the dilapidated house, this poor little girl. The baby was taken to a clinic in a police car. She was examined and the doctors realized that the baby had a broken hip. The child was thin and emaciated. Most likely the girl had not eaten anything for several days. The doctors concluded that this girl was suffering for almost a whole week in the house where there was no one else around. The police found information about the family and learned that the baby's name was Liza Verbitskaya. They immediately started looking for her parents, but no one managed to find them. This means that the girl would be sent to an orphanage where she will live without her mother's love, unless someone accepts her into a new family. On the day when little Liza was brought to the clinic, a woman named Inna saw her. Her little son was also in this hospital. Liza was in the next room and sobbed so loudly and uncontrollably that Inna got scared and decided to check what was happening with the baby. Having learned what horror the innocent little girl had to endure, the woman took pity on her and started visiting her more often. Inna brought food and toys for Liza and bought her clothes. She was raising 2 children of her own, but this girl worked her way into her soul, and Inna began to think about adoption. She felt that Liza was like her own little baby who should live in her family. Inna managed to prepare the documents in 2 months, and then the long-awaited moment came. Liza was growing up. She was 2 years old, but she was still afraid to be alone and was horrified by unexpected loud noises. A year later, Inna decided to send the girl to a dance club. She wanted her adopted daughter to be healthy and athletic, and dancing would help her believe in herself. And it succeeded. 2 more years passed, and Liza could not be recognized. She became a cheerful and joyful, happy and positive girl. When Liza went to 1st grade at school, she was active and energetic, and it was hard to believe that there was a terrible period in this girl's life after which she barely came to her senses. The girl was slightly dark-skinned, and her classmates gave her the nickname Chocolate. After all, she really looked a bit different from the other children, but she was so sweet and bright that she attracted everyone. I am glad that Liza is not embarrassed by her differences from others, her foster mother Inna said proudly. I told her from childhood, if someone looks at you with curiosity, do not pay attention to it. Liza took part in dance competitions and won several prizes. And then something amazing happened. She won a children's beauty contest. But what happened later will amaze you even more. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, the girl's real mother appeared, who once so long ago abandoned her as an unnecessary thing in an old, cold house to certain death. She told everyone that she wanted to take her daughter home and to call herself the real mother. But when she was asked what made her leave the baby in an empty, cold house, she did not know how to answer. Liza is already a teenager, and she herself will make a choice whether she should meet this woman who suddenly appeared in her life. And we wish her to smile always and never again experience such horrors as it was at the very beginning of her life. Thank God that she met a real, loving mother who gives her daughter love and care, dreaming of making her child the happiest in the world. And that mother who does not even have the right to be called this word will never be understood and justified by a normal person. Especially striking is her gall to appear only after hearing about the success of the girl, whom she doomed to terrible suffering. It is wonderful that there are still so many kind people in the world.